Right. So let me introduce very quickly Dhiraj and Abhijit. So Dhiraj is a part of a technical leadership and a strategic directions of functional testing organizations. He leads the design and development of the test automation framework harness and any in-house tools required. He is holding around 12 plus years of experience into this industry and associated with Tech Mahindra. Apart from that, we have a co-speaker, Abhijit Apte, who is expert in defining and implementing the test automation strategy framework architectures for GUI, API, and mobile automations with tools such like Selenium, Tosca, UFT, Cypress, and many other tools. His experience in managing end-to-end delivery for a product, he's a keen learner and an effective communicator. He's holding around 16 plus years of experience probably in IT industry, and these people will be walking us through the web view of an automation execution using the Docker and DevOps. So as we all know what Docker does day in and day out with CI/CD pipelines, what are the uses of that, and how can automation play a crucial role? Because we always know that probably a test automation actually would play a crucial role while we are doing execution on a Docker with regards to DevOps. So probably I would allow more to speak Dheeraj and Abhijit to take on this session. So over to you guys, Dheeraj and Abhijit.
Thank you. Let me share my screen
Yeah.
quickly. And let me know if you can see the presentation, please.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that quick introduction. So first of all, again, giving us a platform to showcase our thought process, as well as some of the things that we'd like to share with the audience. So thank you guys for joining this session. We'll be demonstrating the web view of automation execution using Dockers and in DevOps. Um, I think we already had the introduction already set up, but Dheeraj, do you want to introduce yourself again?
Yeah, I can. Hey, hi, Aditya. Hi, ATA team. So thank you for giving opportunity. So I'm Dhiraj. I am close to 10 years of experience, and I worked in the different kind of technology like Java, C Sharp. I have time. I'm having expertise to set up a framework, and I provides as mentioned for technical leadership and strategic direction for the automation framework for the or it's in all areas like UI, API, and mobile. Yeah, Vijit.
Thank you, Dhiraj. So my name is Abhijit Apte. I'm working in the capacity of a senior manager in Fiserv, having over 16 years of experience in open source as well as the licensed tool set in specifically in the automation area, but was involved in the delivery of the product testing, test automation, building a strategy and implementation along with the team management. So while building the presentation, right, I came across this very interesting saying by Alan Moore, which says that technology is always a two-edged sword. It brings in many benefits along with the disasters. We have seen this specifically in last 2 to 3 years. Technology has helped us to do some of the things in the remote location, but due to the increase in the screen time, we have also seen the cons of that effect, right? The same thing is applicable in software testing as well as in the automation world, right? So technology is always helping us to reduce some of our manual effort. We moved into the automation era where we were building the scripts and then executing them on some of the dedicated machines, right? But as in with the years, right, our test bed has increased. There was a need to orchestrate this automation executions into the multiple machines or multiple nodes, and that's where Selenium Grid was helpful to us. We execute our scripts to Jenkins, it connects to the hub, and then hub monitors the queue and distribute it to the different nodes that you have pre-configured. Now, again, out here, it solves one problem, but setting up the nodes with respect to the infrastructure as well as kind of a versions, managing the browser versions is again the manual task and it takes the time, right? With the large queue set that we have, At times we have seen the hub might go into the in the hang mode. If one of your test cases stuck to any of the node, you can have to manually restart that node. Or if you want to add any new node, right, it's at a point you again have to start from procuring the new virtual machine or the infrastructure cost to setting up the required software and adding the doing the required browser setup. So that was still a manual task, and when we are talking about the enterprise level solution or with the large test bed product, it is difficult to manage the multiple virtual machines and then playing around with it. A Docker comes into help. Sorry. So Docker comes into play out here where it allows you to easily spin up some of your implementation. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening. Okay, so let me manage it out this way. So you still have to bring up your nodes that are not supported by the Docker, but then those are supported, right? You can utilize that to add the nodes for the specific browser version or the OS combination that you have. So adding and removing the node is not an issue. You can scale and descale some of your executions depending upon the volume that you want to execute it, right? But consider in this way, if you are executing, let's say 1,000 test cases, right, and there are 100 different nodes that are available, or nodes count is more than 15, right? And if you want to quickly check why my test case is failing, right? I want to quickly understand what exactly happening on the Docker side to understand the root cause and then fix that particular test case, right? If I want to identify that on which node or which Docker image my test case is currently getting executed, it's difficult for me to navigate through those 15, 20 Docker images and then find out, okay, my test case is currently executing on this particular container. That's where our solution web view of a Docker execution will come and will be helpful for you. So the way it works is you will still trigger your executions through the CI/CD server. Your script will connect to the Jenkins job, right? And that will connect to our. I'm sorry, something is wrong. So let me share my screen again. Right, so it goes into the to the listener. Listener is now responsible for managing or managing the container number of containers that you have added into the system. It will take a look at the thread count that you have provided, and then it will spin up those number of the container nodes into the system programmatically. Then you can see this number of containers that are available on very nice dashboard view where you can see the other information as well. So we also implemented some of the watchers and the connectors that will be utilized by your automation project that will fetch some of the information that we would like to showcase on the system. So for example, this is a nice view where you can see under the Docker section, right? You can see how many container images I'm having. Down the line, we are planning to add the overall easy system for end user to add or spin up or spin down some of your Docker images through the UI itself. So you don't even have to go and fire some of the commands on PowerShell or Windows Terminal. If you go to the build section, you can see that how many builds jobs are currently running through my DevOps tool set, and then I can understand that okay, I'm having 3 different builds which are getting executed. If I want to take a look at into the much detail, what all test cases are getting executed and where exactly am I from the execution point of view. And if I want to see a particular test case execution, I can just navigate to the execution view, and then I should be able to take a look at directly navigate to the respective container and then take a look at the execution there and there itself. So I don't have to navigate through the multiple Dockers now. I know which test case is getting executed on which Docker instance, and then I can quickly navigate to that one. We'll be showcasing the live demo of this one, and that will be conducted by Dhiraj. Dhiraj, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Abhijit. So thank you. So I'll just share my screen. Just let me.
Dheeraj is not audible.
Hey, is it audible now, Abhijit? Am I audible?
It is breaking in between.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So just let me share my screen. Just give me one. Let me try. So okay. So are you able to see the Jenkins window, right? Right, guys?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, okay, yeah. So as Abhijit explained, we are in a world of CI/CD and Azure DevOps. So how we are executing? We are starting from the Selenium grid, and we are moved to the Dockers and all the thing. But when the questions arise, how can we figure it out? So in the world, we cannot execute say 5 or 10 test cases. We having a test case is a big number, thousand or in the thousands of test cases. So we use a parallel execution where we cannot see actual how the execution is going to happening. For that, there are few tools are there like a Selenoid. You can say there's a Selenium are also there. But the problem is that if you see, I can just show, if you see the problem is actually with that this is a docker window. If you see in the Docker, I have to go and start it out manually. If you're there after the manually, if you can say it out, okay, here there is my Docker. So these are the latest Docker. Just wait it out. It is gonna run. It's run. Yeah, it's a run. So we having a Docker connected and we execute it out. And the sessions, we can see here the sessions is going to execute. But the thing is, you cannot know what test case is working on and what is actually running. So it's a total mess for us. So if you see the few version of Dockers, it gives us a VNC client access. But what happening if I connect to the VN, I should know what is the VNC port, what is the VNC, what is going to execute on the VNC. Take example, if you work in a bigger or in a bigger servers, like they having there are multiple projects, there are multiple hubs. We can have 10 or 5 hubs, so it is not going to manage it out. So for that we comes with the we because we face this issue in the past, so we come up this one kind of idea. So let's see, this is our Azure, this is our dashboard. So just let me stop my Docker. So let's see, this is our Docker scene. So here we can see all the Dockers which are existing on my server. So now everything on my local host, you can see this is all we can see containers which are already I created at my servers. We can create it at the runtime also, that we are doing in the next step. But yeah, currently say we having five containers we run at our local. So we can see out, okay, hey, what is my containers, what is the state, and on what are the port they are working on. This is a containers ID. Same, then you can see what are the builds. This is the build page where you can see the exact build mapping with our Jenkins. So this is our Jenkins build. So if you see this, it's a Jenkins mappings, build number 32, 34. This is the, as Abhijit explained, this is a connector for Jenkins, which gives us the connection between Jenkins and your web view. The last one is, which is major thing, is the builds test case mapping. So consider these are the 4 test cases in my execution. So here we can give us the facility, or we can give the provision that you can see the test cases which are completed and which are getting running. So we get to know that, okay, out of 100, these are test cases completed, these are getting running, and these are getting failed. So it's in a pipeline, but yes, we can get rid of that. But this is the start of the thing, so we go by step. So this is the how the web views is working. So now let's move to the actual live one. So let's see, this is my Jenkins job. I go and this is gonna trigger by my say CI/CD, which if someone comes to Jenkins and he triggered a job by our thing. So the my it's gonna kick it off, and you can see in the console logs the project is gonna check it out from the Git, and it is gonna running out. So we just check it out the console. It's checking out. It is running out. Say we are going to execute on only 2 threads. So my Jenkins job getting triggered. Now I'm having a 4 test cases. Let's assume you're having a 400 test cases and your job is running. You know that there are 2 test cases. So two nodes, and now you don't know if you go into our Docker, you can just see there are only 10 images. Which 10 images are getting running, you don't know, because that is sitting on your actual servers. The servers we don't have access for that one, and even though we cannot get to know what is running. So now if you see the Docker is running, it's working on the two builds, two Dockers, and we are new build is going to kick off. Now if you see on the console, only the test cases are getting running. So let's see, we can say here the two browsers are running because of this. Now this build, we assuming that this is not connected with the web view of Docker. So now we can say Amazon test case is gonna running, and this is executing on say XYZ Docker. Now my second test case or the Google test case is also running on say XY number of Docker. Now the issue comes to here when we have a production issue, that these some test cases only failing on particular environment. Because on the local, we said, hey, my test case is working on local, but what's happening in going to the actual environment, it's gonna fail. So we don't identify why this is gonna fail, because in the Selenium there's a flaky test case, there is some configurations, there is some, we can say, skin resolution. So we can't understand. So now we just see here the test cases are running. Now the fourth test case is also running, and the build is gonna complete it in a few seconds. So this is our traditional approach, which we see it's currently all the people are working, and this is currently live doing all the ways. So now let's complete this one, and then we go. Let's now we kick off our next build, which is connecting with our web view. So just wait for completing this one. Okay. So it takes some time to get it complete all the thing, because let's go to the console for this one. Yeah. So now the build is getting stopped, and this is going to stop it. So now let's go to the Dockers. So now if you see my Dockers are not running, all the Dockers are in the stop positions. Now assume that this is gonna work. It is gonna completed. Yeah, it is completed. Now let's say I'm going to trigger, this is connected with my web view. So I'm going to build next build trigger automatically from there. This is going to again rerun. Now look at this thing. See my API containers, I'm going to running backend, which is depending on my thread count. So how many threads I'm having, I'm going to select according to that. So this is my images, this is my container. So let's look at the logs again. So what it says, it is check out the code. Now because in the panel, the main thing is how many thread counts we have. So normally we use the plugins, or we show up for a plugin, or we pass it from the command lines. So if you see it check it out, and it says that running test case and my thread counts are 2. So my only 2 threads should be spin up. So if you see here, yep, you can see code number 2 is automatically kicked off.
Dhiraj, we are only able to see your Jenkins page, but not the Docker desktop. So if you could show it on the web view side, that would be also helpful.
Okay, just let me, I just share my own screen. Okay, just let me share my screen again. Okay, is it now visible, Abhijit? All the screen is visible, right? The Docker screen is visible.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, guys. So what I will do, I'll just rerun the build again. So it takes not much time for us to execute. I just rerun for the build again. That is not our purpose. So let's the build is going to execute it out again. So if you see there are only two builds are getting running. So only the 2 threads are getting spin up at the runtime. Now if you see, go to my Docker screen, you can see here only the 2 threads are running. So you can see here how many threads are running here. The same way into the build page. In the build, I click somewhere wrong. In the build, you can see the build number 40 is going to trigger it out. This is the build number 40, which is from Jenkins, which is currently executing. And this is the way. There if you go, this is my Facebook execute test case. I just connect to this one, and there you Yeah, so there you go. The test case is just executed and just complete out. So the test case is one complete because I just log in quite late. Let me rerun again the thing, so we will see the exact what is happening. So after this one, if you see the Docker stopping Docker, the Docker again getting stopped. So let me rerun again. Sorry guys, this is I thought which is running. So okay, I trigger a build 41 again. Let's complete this build first. Yeah, 41 is running. So what's happening in the 41 again? It's checking out and my dockers are 0. So it is helped me out. So the how many dockers are running, how many dockers at my how many capacity for my dockers is there. Now if you see again, there all dockers are stopped. So 2, 4, 4. If you say in the big org, we easily get to know on the hub what are the dockers are running, how many dockers are there. So this is save my resources. Now, if you see the traditional grid, we have to continuously make this node on. So unnecessary, I need a heavy machines, it continuously get my resources. So this saves your resource count also. Now if you see the one resource is getting node, so just refresh it out. Yeah, you get to 2 nodes are running. Now let's quickly move to the build. Now previously it's a 40 build. Now we can move to the 41 number build. So in the 41, let's take her out to the 41. Now there's still no test case are getting running because it's in progress to connect into a build and execute. So now let's go to this one. So Google test case is running on this one. So we are hoping there should be a Google test case. Now see, the Google test case is running at this one concurrently. The same way we can say here the my Amazon test case. So, so this is there you go. So now you can see the Amazon. So the mechanism is like that. You don't have to worry what the port in, what is the order that. So if the test case is linked here, what the test case from your code, that's it. So there is nothing to do in the code. Just use the repository and do it. So once the test case is going to complete it. Now if you see there's a Facebook post is running over there. So my next Facebook is running on this one and the home page. So the test case is going. So on the another port, the same Facebook page is running. So that's it. So if I refresh it, that is completed. So all the node getting kicked off and all the things. So after we done with our now the last one is the Yahoo one. So still Yahoo is pending. Sorry, I thought it's running. So Yahoo, there is now only one test case remaining. So only one node is there and the Yahoo is running on that one. So this is the linkage between your Docker and my execution test case. So once the Docker is now all test cases are getting run. So my job is completed. So what is happening after that one? I need to freeze down my resources for the next test cases. So after some now, if you see 2 numbers done, 4 is done. So that is the exact one. What we are trying to explain here for the Docker view. So this is the one of the thing which we are struggling from last top time, me and Abhijit when we work in the past. So we are the people not able to understand why the test is going to fail, how it's going to working. So this we can connect with our local also, and we can see and we can debug it out why, what is the exact reason for that one. So yeah, so that's it from our side. So yeah, Abhijit, we can over to you for.
Yep. And another advantage that you guys see, right? We are also able to segregate what is currently getting executed versus what all things are already completed. We are trying to add the status as well, like pass and failure status as well down the line. But at the POC phase, this is what we were able to achieve, and we thought of sharing that with you. So please take this nugget if you are using Dockers and containers to spin up and spin down your infrastructure related challenges. We definitely feel that this might be helpful for you to jump on the exact test case that is currently executing and debug that one if at all you want to take a look at. So it's not going to interfere your current execution or current setup. It's just that we are pulling some of the additional information, maintaining it in a nice and clean way, and representing that to the end users. So we are open for the questions. So if you have any questions, please let us know over the chat.
Great session, I would say, Abhijit and Dheeraj. Right, you guys have done like probably a wonderful job with by sharing it. What can be done with the help of the Dockers and web view within automation. So I would I'll let audience ask a questions if they have any. So if we don't have any, probably I am not able to see any questions on the chat. So probably I would be having a couple of questions from my end. So the questions what I have is, uh, can we actually use this in mobile automations, or probably an automation to be done in mobile applications?
So this current solution that we have implemented, right, it only allows you to view programmatically or through the browser for the Dockers and containers side. If you are running any of the Docker images for the simulators that you have, then you should be able to view that one. Though we haven't tested it, but ultimately the thought process and the implementation is same, so that should be helpful. Dheeraj, you can stop sharing your screens
Yeah.
unnecessary. That will bring in some of the things. Thank you.
Okay. So the next follow-up question, what I would be having from my end, that suppose for an example, we guys are running with multiple Dockers at a time, and in any case, if some of the reason, right, this if the execution gets stopped, so can we get a results probably from where it got stopped, or can we resume it again back?
Mm. Yes, we can say now if you see our Docker page. In the Docker page, you can stop your Docker or you can restart your Docker if somehow your Docker getting stuck it out. And the
Okay.
result, we are working on that one. So we get that result as soon as our test is getting passed or fail.
Okay, so in that case, I would say that can we able to store the results probably from where it gets dropped, because we can always resume it, but can we see the results which are for the test cases which are being executed so far?
So I have a different view on, if I understood your question correctly, right? What you wanted to say is, let's say you are executing 10 test cases, right?
Okay.
And 5 you completed and then 5 are remaining, and let's say the
Yes.
execution was stopped in between. Now
Yeah.
you want to start those 5 test case execution again. Is that your
Yes.
question?
Yes, but the stop was not intentional; it was unintentional, unfortunate.
Unintentional, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now with our POC was whether we are able to connect to the Dockers programmatically and showcase them into the view. We need to take a look at the feasibility aspect of it. If we could kick off the remaining execution from the point where it was left off. So right now it is not implemented, but I think that's good to have feature down the line to take a look at this implementation.
Great, awesome, thank you. So apart from that, I do have one more question for you. So in any case, if you guys are executing different builds on a Docker, right? So can we have the build results of previous builds which got executed? And if
Yeah.
yes, what's the span of time we would be storing the results? Because we would be running through the builds day in and day out, right? Because if in any case, developers would be using it for probably unit testing as well, and the automation testers also would be using this particular tool. So in that case, if the developers are using day in and day out for the unit testing also, because in TDD format, right, we used to have the test cases prior to the development front, and in that case, if developers are using it for their purposes, right, in that case there would be multiple builds. So in that case, can we see the results that for the previous executions, and for how long we can see that results?
So there are two parts into the answering this question, right? One
Okay.
is we have the connector that we have built in, right? So if you are only using this connector when you are executing your functional test cases, then you can only gather that functional testing related information into the database, onto the local database that we have, right? So you don't have to worry about the unit testing builds or the other builds that are getting triggered out of it, right? For the functional side of it, right, as Dheeraj shown, right, there are 40 builds that we have executed, right, and you can go through all those 40 builds and see the history out of it. You can purge those things as per the capacity that you have. For example, if you want to backup for every 3 months, you can have that database backup created, and then you can maintain the new sessions as it is. So that is very much possible to maintain the history depending upon how much capacity or the better infrastructure you have.
Okay. Cool. Probably in that case, I am actually done with all the questions what I was having it. I would open up for an audience. I'll leave up to the audience now. Okay, so we have one more question from Chintan Shah, that sometimes the few issues appear only on certain execution environments. For example, spooky pop-ups may show up on a grid execution but not on a local execution. Is there any way possible to debug it? A good question, Chintan.
Yeah, I have a question here. Am I audible? This is Muzammil.
Yeah, please tell me.
Yep.
Yeah, so if I understand the concept clearly, does it mean that for every test case you have one separate Docker container?
You can do that, or you can also have one Docker where you are executing multiple test cases in sequential manner. So the demo that we have showcased was having the parallel node on the methods or at the test. So every test case that you are executing or every test method that is getting executed was aligned with the separate Docker image. If you are executing it at the class level, you can have multiple tests executed under the same Docker, and you should be able to see the same link for those number of test cases as well. So it's very much possible in those cases.
So in your case, how many Docker containers you are running now?
So, currently we are running the Dockers. How many thread counts we have? We pick up the thread counts from our XML, and we are running only the thread counts which required. So means now we execute on the ones.
Let's say in your test ng file, right, you have given the thread count of 3. We are spinning up the 3 node images and then executing in parallel mode on those 3 containers, right? If you have given the 10 images, right, or thread count of 10, we can spin up the 10 images programmatically, and then that should trigger your executions on those 10 images.
Okay.
So one more question pending, that's from the Chintan Shah, that sometimes a few issues appear only on certain execution environment. For example, cookie pop-ups may show up on grid execution but not on local executions. Is there any way possible to debug it?
I mean, if you want to view it, right, the challenge was earlier was to understand why exactly my script is failing on a given Docker image or with the given browser version. So we were not having that clarity. Even with the screenshot capability you have, sometimes it's better to view the live execution and then understand on which exact point my scripts are failing, right? So in that case, if something of that sort is happening with you, then definitely this solution will be helpful. Something related to cookie and pop-ups, again, these are something that you want to take a look at where exactly the pop-up was displayed, or you're anticipating a pop-up but pop-up wasn't displayed to you, then you can easily debug that through this. Again, this is just to showcase what is getting executed on which Docker container, right? So the traditional practice of debugging and the making the root cause analysis will still remain as it is. So we are not going away with that one.
So Chintan, so just adding to Abhijit, so we are setting up from some flags. So you are executing from DevOps tool or you execute from local. So if you have query that, okay, hey, I want to execute from a local and I want to debug on the Docker server. So the configuration, again, I'm gonna made it out according to that one, that I trigger my test case executing from local. But the only thing, you having that access of that particular thing. So that much pretty much scenarios or questions we are looking out now. What are the difficulty the people are facing out? So the more the questions or scenarios we can discuss it, or we can implement it, and we can bring this to the next level.
With the benefits of time, I would actually thank Abhijit and Dhiraj for the extremely good session and probably sharing the knowledge what you guys have came across along the journey what you had so far, right? So I would actually appreciate your time and value the thoughts which you have shared with us. With this, actually, if there is any sort of questions for Abhijit and Dhiraj, I would actually request to get in touch with them, probably over LinkedIn, and you can probably connect with the questions what you have. Right. So with
Sure.
this, I would like to probably thank you both. Let me share my screen.
Thank you for giving us opportunity.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye. Bye.